Hello again. I'm still Steve Flanders. This is 15 Minutes to Save America, episode number 12. To sum up where we've gone so far, and we'll do that a couple of times at this, so I'll just go real quick at this point. From 1855 until today, 2026, the federal government has basically usurped from the states and localities the powers and responsibilities of economic self-determination, social program self-determination, and moral self-determination or self-government. The more federal power that has been accumulated, the weaker we, the people, have become. I'm going to read a quote from de Tocqueville, his book, Democracy in America, published in 1835, where he predicted where we're at basically today, talking about the kind of despotism that might result from a democratic republic going bad. Quote, "Thus I think that the type of oppression threatening democracies will not be like anything that there has been in the world before. Our contemporaries would not be able to find any example of it in their memories. I too am having difficulty finding a word which will exactly convey the whole idea I have formed. The old words despotism and tyranny are not suitable. This is a phenomenon which I must therefore attempt to define, since I can find no name for it. I wish to imagine under what new features despotism might appear in the world. I see an innumerable crowd of men, all alike and equal, turned in upon themselves in a restless search for those petty, vulgar pleasures with which they fill their souls. Each of them, living apart, is almost unaware of the destiny of all the rest. His children and personal friends are for him the whole of the human race. As for the remainder of his fellow citizens, he stands alongside them, but does not see them. He touches them without feeling them. He exists only in himself and for himself. If he still retains his family circle, at any rate, he may be said to have lost his country. Above these men stands an immense and protective power, which alone is responsible for looking after their enjoyment and watching over their destiny. It is absolute, meticulous, ordered, provident, and kindly disposed. It would be like a fatherly authority if, father-like, its aim were to prepare men for manhood. But it seeks only to keep them in perpetual childhood. It prefers its citizens to enjoy themselves, provided they have only enjoyment in mind. It works readily for their happiness, but it wishes to be the only provider and judge of it. It provides their security, anticipates and guarantees their needs, supplies their pleasures, directs their principal concerns, manages their industry, regulates their estates, divides their inheritances. Why can it not remove from them entirely the bother of thinking and the troubles of life? Thus it reduces daily the value and frequency of the exercise of free choice. It restricts the activity of free will within a narrower range and gradually removes autonomy itself from each citizen. Equality has prepared men for all this, inclining them to tolerate all these things and often to see them as a blessing. Thus, the ruling power, having taken each citizen one by one into its powerful grasp, and having molded him to its own liking, spreads its arms over the whole of society, covering the surface of social life with a network of petty, complicated, detailed, and uniform rules through which even the most original minds and the most energetic of spirits cannot reach the light in order to rise above the crowd. It does not break men's wills, but it does soften, bend, and control them. Rarely does it force men to act, but it constantly opposes what actions they perform. It does not destroy the start of anything, but it stands in its way. It does not tyrannize, but it inhibits, represses, drains, snuffs out, dulls so much effort that finally it reduces each nation to nothing more than a flock of timid and hard-working animals with the government as shepherd." End quote. That's what Alexis de Tocqueville had to say, thinking about how America would look if it went wrong. We got to recount our basic narrative and see if this doesn't get applied by de Tocqueville. Think about what's happened to us since 1850 and 1886, and the whole, the media is still run by the rich. We still have corporate personhood. The Federal Reserve has been established and still in place. The IRS is making it to where the federal government has a steady stream of revenue with no complaints and no need to deal with the states. Direct election of senators has reduced the voice of the states in the Congress, in the Capitol. We still have bureaucratic rule by experts. The 10th Amendment has still been repealed and is making it to where the federal government seems like the only place to get any solutions. Social Security and socialism are still loose on the land, destroying the families. Okay, we have a cultural degradation and a moral decline that has been driven by all this, to the point where recently I heard Elon Musk talking about the homeless industrial complex and how people are literally being paid to farm zombies, to create zombies and keep them fed. And there's ongoing division and war. And the whole time these days, it seems like there's nothing to be done except turn to the federal government for any kind of solutions. So with all that in mind, I got another quote to read you. This one is, once again, from my handy-dandy little Constitution and Declaration of Independence. This from the Declaration of Independence. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government. I'm going to pause before I complete this quote because, yeah, it's our duty. But our duty goes a lot bigger than what we might think if we're going to take this stuff seriously. Yes, it's our duty to us, ourselves, each other, certainly our children and grandchildren. But it's more than that. The United States of America is so powerful and has so much influence on the world that we need to bring our beast to heel. We have a duty to humanity because we have so much influence on the politics of the world, okay? But our duty extends even further. Because of our runaway republic and then our runaway corporate structure, we have a third beast loose, which is the Industrial Revolution, which was going before we started. But our patent office and the corporate wealth that we've generated has certainly paved the way for this Industrial Revolution, this beast of technology, to run roughshod over the entire planet, all the plants and animals, the entire biosphere. We have a duty to the planet. We have a duty to the biosphere. We have a duty to all of humanity. We certainly have a duty to our own children to get this government to heal, to get it to where it is behaving in a way that really benefits the people, that is in our will. And that's why we need to look at what will happen. To complete the quote, after it says, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. That's what most of the rest is. This is going to be like. This is what has led us here. It's a long train of usurpations and abuses, and it really does look like it's aimed at reducing us into just a servile, slave ship Earth is what I call it. Certainly slave ship America, but slave ship Earth is on the agenda with a global government that is going to be just as corrupt or more than this national one. And yet with local community moral self-government, the whole idea is to bind all of those powers together in a bundle, to put as many of the powers of economic, social, and moral self-government into a bundle that is held at local level. Because that's how, well, to get as many as possible, we need to have a process. I'm going to be going into the process to do that. we need to really think about which powers maybe should stay at the federal level, but most of them that have been usurped need to be returned to that local level, because it's when they have that local autonomy and that local control that you're going to get two big things right away. And I'm going to go into a whole lot more about the advantages of local community moral self-government. But just for a tease right now, the two big advantages that come up are you're going to have a diversity in the cultures in all these different localities. There'll be a wide diversity. And each individual and their families will be able to choose which culture style fits them the best. They won't be stuck with this one-size-fits-all homogenized culture that America has become underneath the usurpations of this fascist oligarchy. Instead, we would have much more diversity within our communities, a great many more choices for people to make. And once those choices are made, because of the fact that these powers and responsibilities are bundled together at that local level, the individual is going to have a lot more to say about how much more it could be to their liking. But by bundling those all together, you also start setting up that dynamic, which I'll go into, which is raising the moral consciousness of the people, which will happen when people once again are re-engaged in their own self-governance. And that's what all these usurpations took from us most dastardly, most devastatingly, was that consciousness of self-government. A lot more to say on this. I think I've talked enough on this one. I think it's getting close to 15 minutes. Anyway, you know what to do. Share and subscribe if you can, and like and follow. The best we can do is just start coming together around all this stuff, and I've got a whole plan. Now it's starting to be unveiled in the next one. What to do next instead of submitting to the federal government. Thanks. Once again, the blog site is lifeinafascistcountry.blogspot.com. If you want to read ahead, the book, we're still moving along in the book, which is a bunch of links, which is lifeinafascistcountry.blogspot.com /2025 /02 how and why to save America. And this we're starting into now is local community moral self-government. I've got quite a bit to say on that. There's a new link that's been that was posted there. It's all lowercase, but I wrote it in uppercase just so you can read my handwriting, which I have trouble doing. It's LCMSG.html with the same prefix as the others. And once again, we advanced, going along press control, corporate personhood, 16th, 17th Amendment, government by experts, FDR again, and what he did with Social Security, 1947, and the First Amendment, how it was janked around on us and twisted. And now we're starting into what happens with the loss of local community moral self-government. We're going to be getting more and more to the lost blessings of liberty and how we could reform and refound our country, and how we could actually get that done in the face of the money and media power allied against it.